I am Liz Rossof, and I work at Betabrand, which is a crowdsourced, crowdfunded online clothing community. I've been with the company for 5 years, so I've seen it through some really incredible growth. I am the director of the design ideas section of the website, which means that I run our community of designers who are contributing their ideas to Betabrand for our audience to be able to vote on, and they will become the next big product. So together, the design community and our consumer audience ideate and have conversations about what should become the next product, what should be in everyone's home and everyone's closet and everyone's wardrobe in the next 6 to 9 months. So I'm really excited to be here. Thank you, Susan, so much for the really warm welcome and all of this delicious catering. For those of you who are watching on the live stream, you're really missing out. It's delicious. I feel very well fed, and I'm very appreciative of that for sure. I'm also really appreciative of Regina in the audience, who is rocking her disco hoodie, her reversible disco hoodie, which is like now basically a heritage product. It's something that our brand really, it's a foundational product. I believe it was a second product, if not the third product, that our CEO and founder Chris Lindland came up with. And it's really become an iconic piece in the company, as well as really the root of where our community began. Being in San Francisco, obviously, people are very into tech, and people are very into Burning Man. Like, those are two things that go sort of hand in hand, right? So, you know, from like the C-level executives of all the massive internet companies to like the newbies getting on the bus every day, you know, those are things that they have in common. And the disco products, which you will see throughout my presentation, became really sort of a banner of creativity out at Burning Man, because it is shiny and it's beautiful and it attracts a lot of attention. It makes a lot of friends. And it doesn't fall apart like sequins. So one of the really important things at Burning Man is that you don't leave anything behind. You're not leaving trash behind. And sequins, because of those rules, is a giant no-no. Giant no-no. Like, you're shunned if you show up with sequins or feathers, or that's why that awful fun fur is so popular, because you can't have feathers, because that's going to create moop. So the disco fabric became really, really exciting for the creative culture of burners in San Francisco. And one of the things that we did in response to that excitement around the disco was offer packages of disco, the Disco Lab kit, where you could just order 3 yards of disco fabric and make whatever you wanted. And people started sending their pictures back to us of what they created. And by way of their purchase through Betabrand and the iconic pants and sweatshirt, they also became Betabrand products. Even though they were created at the homes of these really incredible people, they were on our website and they were celebrated as such and part of our community. So thanks for wearing that, and I will get back to the disco a little bit later on. So if you didn't know, the fashion industry is under unrelenting internet attack. Every day we hear about more and more retailers closing their doors. The internet has completely turned over our shopping experiences. Why would you drive out to the mall to park so far away when you can get the same exact product while in your bathroom, scrolling between Facebook updates and your BBC app? You might remember that you also need to get a new dress for a party next week or whatever, and want to see that as well. So the internet and mobile has completely changed the way that people are thinking about retail. So the question is, what happens when the web builds a clothing company? So all these clothing companies are trying to incorporate the tools of the web into their processes, and they're failing. It's not working. They're so rooted in traditional manufacturing and retailing that every time they try to, let's have a social media page, let's, have an online coupon, or, do these things, it's not working. And we know it's not working because of how quickly those doors are closing. So what happens when the web builds an internet company? I'm just going to show this video. Oh, I think I have to Sorry, I actually get a little verklempt when I watch that video. We're very good at creating these incredible experiences for people, and our community has really been why we show up every day. The community has responded to that attention that we've given to them, and they've reciprocated with an incredible amount of loyalty and creativity, and giving us all kinds of assets. And there's really 3 ways, if I can, how do I move this now? Oh, here we go. I want to talk about 3 ways that we involve the community. One being as designers, which is the area of the company that I run, so that's sort of what I'm most focused on here. But also as customers, they're the decision makers. Which one of those designs are we going to proceed with? And also as our models. You saw people jumping out of planes, and I'll show a longer video at the end because it's just so much fun. It's the kind of thing that, like, if it were, Red Bull or the X Games or any of those things, they would have had to probably spend $1 million just on an insurance policy to create those videos. These are our very loyal customers who are also base jumpers, extreme skiers, all these things, and they just wear our clothes and send us the footage for free. So it's an incredible way. We've been on like GoPro's Choice videos a couple of times, and these videos are getting hundreds of thousands of views. And it doesn't cost us anything because our brand really feels a sense of, our community really feels a sense of identity with our brand. So the platform starts with designers. And that is my job at the company, is to recruit, to seek out really good, talented, not only designers, but design thinkers, creative thinkers, people that have a spark, create opportunities for people in our community who may just be like, I really wish I had a shirt that had an extra pocket for a calculator or something like this. Creating opportunities for them to feel entitled to tell us about it, and develop with them ways to publish pages that are engaging and interesting for the audience. So people submit their design. They can grow their fan base. Just as any other social media platform, they have followers, they have fans. And when those products collect enough votes, we go into prototyping and we crowdfund it. And if the audience then likes the final result, and we've pre-sale and crowdfunding enough units, we've got money in the bank before we go into production. And it's a totally reverse operation. And our audience who are participating in that ideation process are gifted with or are paid back with 30% off during that crowdfunding month. So they're incentivized to participate with a very big discount, which keeps us from having to discount it on the other side. So right now you see, you walk by a Banana Republic or a Gap, new arrivals 40% off immediately. Consumers are very used to having a very deep discount, and they have to account for all of that when they go into production. We, on the other hand, have given people a discount at the front, so we have the money in the bank, and we're not going to lose on the manufacturing. So who are the people who come? Well, Jesse Herzog is a really funny guy. He's here in San Francisco, and he was a Betabrand fan. I actually am not quite sure that he had a Betabrand product, but he knew of the company and he thought it was funny. And we had a contest called Hack the Dress Code. And Jesse had already hacked the dress code. Jesse actually had hacked his own suit at his own wedding. He sewed the shirt to the blazer to the pants with a tailor in town and created a sort of onesie suit. I believe there was some sort of like unveiling reveal or something on a dance floor, or some reason that he needed to have this sort of tearaway opportunity at his wedding. But he was like, hey, this is a great idea. I'll submit it to the contest. Well, we put the contest live about 4 p.m. California time on a Wednesday, I think, or a Tuesday. And Chris, our founder, and Aaron, our CMO, were at a conference in another city. We all went home, and that was that. And when I woke up the next day, there were already emails from the Today Show to me, to Chris, looking for this Jesse Herzog guy. They wanted him to come to New York with his prototype. They wanted him on the show immediately. How could they get him there? And all of these people. Chris, I guess, was giving a presentation, and someone in the audience had a question for him about the Suitsie, and he was out of time. He's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And he knew at that moment that there was really onto something if, people in the audience were already asking him about something in the news was happening with his own company before he ever knew about it. So it was really incredible. This long, it's New York time, so 7 o'clock when I'm waking up, checking my phone, checking my email, it's already 10 o'clock in New York. They already had him on the way to the airport. Jesse's like, I'm on my way to the plane. It's going to air tomorrow. It's going to be great. And sure enough, it was. And it's been on CNN, and it's been on these things. But even in concept, Jesse was able, the idea was able to draw all of this attention, all of this press. It ended up on the cover of the homepage of GQ Men. Well, GQ is men's, GQ.com, whatever. And it said something about the Suitsie kills menswear. We can all go home. And, we were like, that's awesome. Little beta brand in the mission just killed menswear with a Suitsie. So for us, it's like menswear needs to get a little stronger because it's really not that threatening. So, these wonderful things. So he's a creative thinker. He's a wonderful person, and he's just put himself out there, and it went gangbusters. We've also worked with celebrities like Margaret Cho, who actually has a tailoring background, and she came to us and wanted to do a product. This is now 3 or 4 years old at this point, but it was really fun to get to work with her. We've worked with designers from Project Runway. If I'm talking to an audience of designers, they're usually like, oh, is that there? And, not really, but, they're like, oh yeah, they know that guy from the TV show, right? But, it's impressive because this is like people who've had a lot of face time in front of the world and have some recognition coming to us to help them relaunch some design ideas. We've also worked with bigger companies as of late. Timberland, Vivo Barefoot, The North Face, and Isco Denim in Turkey. All of these companies are coming to us because they really think that we're onto something. We've got this really incredible way of having a creative process that's customer facing, and we get a lot of really critical input, and we're collecting an incredible amount of data through the whole process, and being able to poll people and get their input on decisions right down to the wire. There are things that we have been able to potentially Photoshop if necessary. So I think it was about 12 hours before we launched one of the Timberland shoes, and Timberland thought that it should be the Timberland wheat color, but the sample actually came in a sort of leather brown color, which everyone in the store thought that looked, or the store, our headquarters, thought that looked really good. So we photoshopped them both, and we polled everyone that had voted, a few thousand people, and asked them which one do they want. And the majority of people said that they agreed with us. They liked the brown leather. And so we went with the brown leather instead of the classic Timberland wheat color. And what does this tell Timberland? Well, it tells them that they can do more than the wheat color. Like, that's $1 billion piece of information there that we were able to deliver in a very short amount of time. And free, free for playing. So, same thing with, I should say, sorry, before I get to the dashboard, same thing with North Face. It was some jacket designs and some fabric, some new fabrics that were debated between the design room and the merchandising room of how much investment should be made in one of those products. Well, we just put it in front of the audience. The consumer really only sees 5% of what goes on in the design room. There's 95% of things still on hangers, still that are just sitting there in sample form or sketch form that could be evolved, that could, with the opportunity and with the information that the audience is able to give us, could really create incredible successes with those. Now, the designer dashboards is really where a lot of the fun happens. So we have thousands of designs now in the design ideas section. We clearly can't make all of them yet. Hopefully one day we'll be fast enough and big enough that we'll be able to manufacture all of them. But we can't deliver all of them yet. So what happens to the 90% of the products that we can't put forward? Those designers who've created their profiles on our website have access to all of this information, which gives them a really informed reflection on what they're putting forward. So if you're an emerging designer, if you're someone who's looking for design work and you're in an interview and someone asks you, well, who are you designing for? Like an uninformed answer would be like, oh, well, for me, or for people like me, or for a lot of young designers think that they're designing for 24-year-old Instagram, apparently billionaire people who, I don't know who these people are. I mean, I know they exist, but there are not that many of them, right? But this actually gives you a really clear indication of what is happening. So I want to add that we've actually included on here page views. So you can actually see the number of people who've clicked on your page versus the number of people who voted for it, which is really interesting. So you can start to judge your own sort of conversion. The gender of voters, the location of voters, which I think is the most exciting. And then when your product does become for sale, these are the same statistics that you see, which is super cool. So if you've got a product, even at the voting stage, you're like, oh my gosh, all of these orders here are actually votes. But to see the number of people like, oh my God, there are 3 people in New Zealand are paying attention to my idea. That's certainly more than there were when it was just sitting on your desktop in a folder. You also see a breakdown of your the age of voters. And you start to gain a following and you're able to communicate with your fans through your design ideas, which is really, really cool. And we do allow designers to link back to their own pages outside of the site in their profile, as long as that design idea isn't for sale where they're leading us. So we work with several designers who have their own brands, their own smaller labels, and we're just very careful not to, they'll give us a few designs that year and hope that they, are expanding their audience. It's a very good marketing tool for them. We work with a designer who runs her own label out of Philadelphia called Lobo Mao, and it's great. When she first started participating on the platform, she would write me and she would say that she just sent a package to, somewhere in Europe. And, she's quite certain that the only way that they were able to find her was through our mailing list, which is closing in on about 2 million people at this point. Here's another video. Thanks to Google.
There are so many other clothing companies in the world, but no one does what we do.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
We're trying to become the Kickstarter of clothing.
Literally anyone can submit an idea to the think tank.
And then if there's a ton of votes for it, then we'd figure out how to make it.
Here is the prototype of your jacket.
It's great. This does a lot more justice than some photos in an email, so I'm super stoked to see it live.
Awesome.
And it ends up being kind of like a brand that's been organically built by the people who like to buy the stuff.
We move fast. Sometimes from concept to prototype is a couple of days.
These are disco overalls, college rule binder paper, legal pad.
My goal is to be out of the woods and fully stocked by end of May.
Chat, email, Google Hangouts are all just important things. So to be able to ask a question, get an immediate answer is really big and keeps us moving at a consistent rate.
Why is he? Just constantly, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? That was great. What's the next thing?
That was a little promo piece that Google came to our office to create, which was fantastic because we could never obviously afford to have those kind of shots on our own. But basically in a nutshell describes our process and the way that we are open for people to come and participate with us. Now the next level of community engagement is really when it's time to crowdfund. And as I said before, the people who have participated in the ideation process through their vote or taking a poll or commenting are all going to get 30% off during the crowdfunding month. So that vote, that poll, that comment all creates the list of people who are going to get the discount. If you haven't participated and you're just finding out about a product, you get 15% off during the month. So people are incentivized to participate. So when a product funds, we make it, but we don't make it until it funds. And the product has 30 days to reach its goal, but we really want to see those products. We really want to focus in on those products that reach its goal in a matter of hours. There have been products that reach its goal in under an hour, and those are very exciting products. Those are when the flag goes up and we say, okay, now it's time to start running some ads to see how people are responding. Is this a good place? Is this a way that we can start getting a solid ROI on getting people onboarded onto our platform? Is this something that we need to create more colorways of? Is this a new concept in a way that we can start developing other products around the utility of this product? For example, I think it was 2.5 years ago now, we really wanted to create a travel pant. And our idea at first was that we were going to make sort of yoga leggings with different cultural themed prints on them. And these were going to be travel inspired because they were going to be from all different places of the world. And people were just not really that into it. So we asked them, well, what do you want out of a travel pant? And they said, well, we want something that's like your dress pant, yoga pants, but also has all of these other characteristics in it, and also can hold my passport, and can also hold my other thing, and can also do my thing in this. And they were like, okay, great, and now we can apply that to shirts that can also have these storage, and blazers that aren't going to wrinkle, and that can dry quickly, and that can all the marks that get checked when you want to have something that you can travel with, but isn't going to look like you're going on a safari. Because you want to be able to travel and look fashionable at the same time. You want to be able to get up early in the morning, go to the meeting in Seattle, go out to dinner, come back on a late night flight, and be able to crawl into bed and not having had to change your clothes. So you want it to be odor releasing, you want it to be sweat wicking, you want it to be wrinkle free, you want it to have some sort of stain resistance, all of these things which are great for travel, but they're also really convenient for everyday life. So travel is this delicious word that can mean so many things, but it's also, to me, means it's going to be convenient in my day-to-day. So when we see something that really strikes it hits its goal within hours or within days, we want to investigate the ways to expand on that idea and that collection. We also have, every Friday, we fund a new shirt pattern for men. We've done, these shirts originally were called the Hawaiians. Hawaii was a fictional island that was a horrible, horrible place to be. It was like the worst vacation package that you could possibly imagine buying. Leeches, fire pits, biting howler monkeys, like all the most horrible things. But they had really great looking shirts in Hawaii. That was many, many years ago, and it has evolved. The Hawaiian shirt body was the vehicle for our poo emoji pattern, which was, I think, still our best-selling Hawaiian shirt. I insisted that they made a dress. They did. It was also successful. But every Friday we have the new shirt. Actually, I think this will link out to the site for me. Hopefully. But again, all of the shirts are submitted by communities of graphic designers. So we got the word out with a contest that we did with Spoonflower, which is an online print pattern community. Here we go. So we have the Hawaiian shirt machine, and these are all actually CGI. So these are just the prints, the artist scales the all over print to what size they want. And when it accumulates enough votes, it can go straight into crowdfunding without even making a prototype, which is very cool. We've just started doing this with goods as well. We just funded a bag in many colors. It's to be sampled still. It's just a computer generated image, which is very, very cool. So we used to have all of this information before the first sample was sewn. Now we even have some of the money before the first sample is sewn, which is pretty crazy. But this has been a really great and exciting time, and you can scroll through and see all the shirts that are available for sale, as well as the shirts that are available for voting. Yes, Vera?
Question.
Yeah,
perfect. Who comes up with the names? Do you guys do that?
Yeah, it's pretty much Chris. Okay. I mean, we all participate, but you mean like Hawaiians? Or
the names of the shirts. Is that
actually, those come from those come from the designer. And the reason actually that you're seeing these, this specific collection, is that these have made it to the end. So we have thousands of patterns at this point up for voting, but there's a key to this success, right? Our shirt buyers, shirt voters love the double entendre. They love things that are memey. They love things that are current. They love things that are geeky. You know, all of these sort of like really fun, your like science physics teacher that everyone thought was like kind of weird, but is actually like in hindsight the coolest guy you ever knew. You know, like they want those shirts. So there is a little bit of recipe to that. It's not just going to be nice looking. There's got to be something behind it. So let me just quickly go back. Oops. Oh, here we go. Great. So, and then post-sale, we have Model Citizen. And that's what I was talking about in the beginning, like how people were sending us all of these photographs. Model citizens are also encouraged. When you submit a photograph to our website wearing our clothes, you get 20% off your next order. So I believe we have something like 130,000 photographs at this point. We have a huge library of people in our clothes, and those photographs end up in the galleries. And when you submit a photograph, you actually get a URL that shows your photograph as the first image in the gallery. Early days of the site, you would just be the person on our landing page. You'd be the lead model, so you could like share it on Facebook and convince your friends that you were now modeling for Betabrand, which you were, and you still are. Now you're just the lead image of the gallery, which is super cool. I don't know what the current stats are, but it used to be that one model citizen photograph would generate 18 new visits to the site. And if we have, a conversion rate of 2%, 3%, that's basically you're getting a sale out of everybody, and an extra sale out of everyone who posts a picture. So that's why when you go to our headquarters and you visit our little shop, we always have a photo booth there. So it's staged out really nice. It's got beautiful lighting, so you can have like these high qualities, a white backdrop. It really pops out, beautiful images, but we've had all sorts of like crazy things because people want to share all of that with their friends. Oopsie, it's totally going crazy. So I'm actually going to take you to the Model Citizen. It's been revamped quite a bit, which is very exciting. Is it being a little slow here? But now you tag your product and you get your likes and your votes. People can comment on them. You can share. Currently, we're having a billboard contest, which is not our first billboard contest. But the winner, the person with the most votes, is going to get a billboard in their hometown. The 10 runner-ups get billboards in San Francisco, which is not so terrible. But it's really generated like an incredible amount of awesome photography, people coming to our site, including myself. I won a contest. We had an employee contest because we all had to get in on it. This billboard was actually just right across the street by Wells Fargo. I'm actually wearing a Betabrand dress sitting on our Jabba the Hutt, Santa the Hutt character who we have in our store every year. He's super creepy. Super awesome. I'm going to skip the next slide, which is a video, which I can, if I can. I also talk about billboards. It's not really a way that you think of e-commerce company going. We've kind of, it's right there. And, on occasion we're able to do these things. We've worked out quite a deal with Outfront. They sort of give us their leftovers at a really great rate, and we take them. And Mr. Chips, actually, this is a revival of Mr. Chips. Before I joined the company 5 years ago, it's probably like 7 years ago now, when it was really just Chris and 2 interns trying to sling some quarter-round pants out of their basement, put these posters all around that they had lost Mr. Chips and that they needed to come to like some sample sale or something, and it was great. And it's really, really scary to think about this cobra on the loose in San Francisco. So I didn't even know this was happening, and it's really kind of created like this amazing Twitter storm of people wondering if this is real, what's happening. Apparently someone came into the store claiming that they were the biological father of Mr. Chips, and we're also concerned about his well-being. So it's really, there was a reporter from the SF Chronicle who kept trying to contact Chris and getting a straight answer, a straight statement, which she was unable to achieve. But, we love to play with our audience. We love to take a jovial and humorous approach to engaging with people. And I will then go back to this super cool base jumping video that I talked about at the beginning. It's just stuff I would never do.
Three, two, one, let's go!
So I'll also just say, we've had some really remarkable people we've gotten to share in their life and in their stories through our clothes. there was a paraplegic man who made a short film about his rehabilitation, that he would go and he'd put on this sort of like exo structure, and he would wear disco, and we have a short film that he made about that process. He passed away about 3 years ago, and his parents contacted us to let us know, and the whole office was really like in mourning for several days about that. We've gotten letters from people telling us that their brother was buried in, their pinstriped executive hoodie, that these things that we've created have really become part of people's identities and have had a huge impact on their lives. And I've never worked for another clothing company, but I can't imagine that that's something that's happening at the Banana Republic headquarters that very frequently, if ever. Not that Banana, they're a great company, but like the connection that they're making with their community may not be as intense or as impactful. And so those are the main three ways that we're engaging our community and building our brand with them. So I'd love to open it up to any questions. Why? Oh, Mark, that was good. I'm like, that was my quote. So I'm like,
Yeah, first of all, a great overview. Thank you. One question. You alluded to the retail store when you showed the Cobra there. How does a retail, physical brick-and-mortar store fit into your strategy? What the reasoning and thinking behind that?
Yeah, it really doesn't. There was a point when we were considering opening some more stores after the initial success of our lobby. I don't even want to call it like a full store, because it's really not a full representation of what we do, because they only have about 20% of our catalog there. Right now, that's not of interest to us. If we were relying on the brick and mortar on Valencia Street, we would be facing the same difficulties that all the other retailers are that are closing their doors right now. It's great to have. It's become sort of like a clubhouse for our fans to come in. We tried to do some community events there. We just had a model party where you could come and check out our new photo booth and get your picture taken and get on the website, and had way too much beer available for people. Went way too long, but we're getting older. But they just keep staying the same age. It's not really in the plan right now. We're really focused on the e-commerce side, and the impact that the revenue of the store has on this our sales is negligible. So.
We have questions actually.
Oh.
Okay, my question is actually, and this is from direct experience. I'm a big Target fan.
Me too.
And they did a partnership with Victoria Beckham, and I lost my mind. Way too many things. And, you were mentioning that you've done partnerships with brands. Are you thinking about approaching designers?
Yeah.
Like name people, because I would lose.
Yeah, I would lose my mind too. I would lose my mind too. I go to New York about 4 times a year, and I do get to meet, Seth Aaron has had a QVC label, and we've worked with a few other Project One Way winners, and I was asked at a at a meetup in New York, what if Tory Burch wants to work with you? And I was like, great, tell her to submit something. Everyone still has to go through the same process, even North Face, even Timberland, even Vivo Barefoot. They all went through the same process, and starting with their idea on the website. Now, those brands have bigger mailing lists they can promote to, and obviously their votes are going to get really high, and we're going to want to make the product, sure. And they may even, be have other levels of partnership with us. But absolutely, totally open to working with labels, designers. I mean, those designers are labels at that point. They're not just independent designers. So of all levels, and we have really interesting information that make the partnership valuable to everyone. But I would lose my mind too. And I love Target.
I was curious about how the community has evolved, because you've been doing this for 5 years now. So how has it evolved, and where do you see it going? That's one question. And then it does seem like you're bringing in the physical world in some ways at some points. So I'm curious about those two things and how you see the balance of that changing in one way or the other in the future.
Yeah, so the designer community has really grown in the past 2 years, particularly when I started really reaching out to people in the fashion industry. Before, our designers were really people who were fans, and then I started reaching out to designers who were seeking design jobs, giving this as an opportunity to generate some passive income on designs that they may already have in their portfolio. And it's really sort of been snowballing since then. And that's really exciting, but what that also means is that we have a lot more designers than we have ability to create those designs. So I want to make an incredible experience for all the designers, whether or not their product is going to get made. So sort of gamifying the data that's behind is really important, like really making sure that they know where to find that data on their website, hoping to find a way to automate sort of statistic emails once a week. If you have like a Facebook page, you get that weekly, like, oh, you have this many visitors, you have this many blah, 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 sort of a rundown in that way. Really looking for ways to engage the designers and keep them active on the site, even when they don't have a product that is slated to be crowdfunded. And then you had a question about like the real world and the online world. I think one of the ways that we, even when we're crowdfunding, before we start getting the model citizen images, which will come, anywhere from like 2 to 4 months after something's been crowdfunded, we have a style of photography on the site that's really accessible. Our models are not the cold blue, whatever, Zoolander, it's not high fashion photography. That's really good photography, but it's really editorial and it's really light. It's really sort of, we try to put the models in the optimal use case for the product. We don't like having pictures of people on their phone. And we really try to reserve studio shots to really being about calling out details. The Amazon shot of just the white backdrop is so boring. It might help people. It might be how they're used to shopping online. But when you really put the model in the situation that makes them look like they're having fun, that makes you want to hang out with that person, really hang out with them. Go for a walk and tell them all your secrets, not just go to a party and I don't know. So I think that the style of photography really connects with people on a very real world level.
Does Betabrand help with the photo shoot as
Oh.
Yeah, just the mic.
I have a few other questions.
Yeah.
That's okay. Does the Betabrand help with the photo shoot and picking the models and stuff?
Yeah, actually Betabrand does all of that. Yeah, Betabrand handles all of the development, all of the sourcing, all of the creative, all of the prototyping, all of the returns and the liability. It is a Betabrand product, and then the designer gets 10% of sales for a year on their product without having to take any risk. Literally not having to spend $1.
Wow, because my next question was, who does the costing?
We do.
Critical for designers, so.
Yep.
Okay, that's really.
Yeah. So it's really it's a platform that really allows designers just to be able to design.
That's really amazing. I think you answered all my questions.
Okay. Good. Are you a designer?
I am not, but I'm.
Are you a design thinker?
how my brand and things like that, and I'm really curious how you guys look at that stuff on the newsfeed. I was just literally browsing the products.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I need to press something?
No,
It's talking already.
Why don't you speak into the mic so people can hear you? That's the plan.
Hi, I wanted to know about, I hesitate to use the word augmented reality, but more intelligent, like sensor-driven devices that are in nanotech. I haven't seen that this far. I know there have been presentations. IDSA just had its annual design week, and a friend of mine came down that there's just this thing. Does that play into what you do?
I think if we had the right partner, we would love to explore a project like that. That's not something that we have lined up for our current manufacturing, so we would need to work with a partner that knew exactly how to get all of those things manufactured. But I would say it is the kind of thing that we would love to present during our Silicon Valley Fashion Week, which will be in its 3rd year this year. Silicon Valley Fashion Week, and I say week because there's actually a question mark in the trademark because we're sort of questioning what is fashion in Silicon Valley, and it's sort of like it's a convergence of creativity and technology and clothing optional. It's a big party. It's been a lot of fun. We've always gotten a great amount of press, and we do show product that we don't sell during that time, because it's really just about innovation and pushing the boundaries of fashion and technology and where that intersects. So is it technology that's actually sewn into garment, or are we talking about technology that we're using and to create the community that creates the products that we then sell? So there's different ways to look at, what the technology is. We would be very excited to work with a company, but they would have to be ready to guide us through that kind of manufacturing. I mean, it's just an area that's being developed right now. So
The real excitement is having the individual do it, I think, more than just the company, right? So the individual could have the idea, and if they like it, finally that idea will come to fruition. It's not just a company saying,
right, but that individual would still need to be able to help us source all of the ways to get that made, because that's not what we have available to us currently.
Oh yeah. To the extent you can disclose it, I would be interested also in the business strategy behind it. Like when you mentioned the connection with Burning Man, how products evolve, but how did the company get started? Who's kind of the brains at the helmet of the company? Where do you want to take a better product in the company?
Yeah.
I'm pretty certain you're starting to receive offers from traditional companies to acquire Betabrand.
The door is open for that.
Yeah.
They're just lining up, let me tell you. We're like batting them off. We're like, no, that's not good enough. No. The company was founded by Chris Linland. He started Quarter Rounds in 2005 or 2006. Chris is a writer. He was working as a television writer. He had worked in some tech companies, but his real passion is comedy and writing for television. And he was dating a woman who I believe worked at the Gap as a designer. And he was like, how come they don't make corduroy with the whale going around your leg and they only make it up and down? And he wasn't satisfied with her answer. And so he went and figured out how to get them made in San Francisco, just in the sew shops here in town. And before he had them produced, he started sending emails around to his friends and family. And this was just as Twitter and Facebook were starting. It really wasn't the default way of sharing information yet. So he was emailing, and people were forwarding the emails. So he coined the term fashion forward, FWD. And yes, and next thing you know, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, everybody catches wind of this guy's hilarious emails that he's writing about quarter round pants and how it lowers your crotch heat index and makes you more aerodynamic and you're quieter and all of this sort of funny pseudoscience. And next thing he knows, he has orders for like 200 pair of these things, and he actually has to get them made. And so that's how the quarter round started. And then I believe the next product was a disco hoodie, or either the disco hoodie or the disco pants, because they were just down in LA looking at fabrics and found this and were like, oh my God, tripped out by it. And then the Burning Man community really gravitated to it, and it just sort of became a magnet of creative thinking, and it evolved. And I came to the company 5 years ago, and just about the same time was when the company grew from about 14 people to needing to be 36, 38, 40 people, and now we're just under 80 people. The first year that I came, I believe the revenue sales were just under 3 million. Last year they were just under 30 million. So it's been growing really rapidly for retail at really incredible numbers for retail, at pretty strong numbers for tech. So we're sort of, balancing between those two worlds. But really our investors are most interested in the tech side.
Are you planning to diversify into other lifestyle products? I think the business model would apply to us.
Yeah, not currently, but it certainly is a process company. You can apply this process to really any industry. I get hooked up with the Institute for the Future, and I'm asked to talk to people from refreshment companies and Kellogg's, cereal companies, talk to people from automotive industry, all these different industries, like really just interested in this sort of transparent design process in front of the crowd. What does that mean? And the crowdfunding, like that this is an amazing thing that more and more people are comfortable putting down money before a product ever arrives. And something that's very different between what Betabrand does and what Kickstarter does is that Kickstarter is not accountable for the delivery of product, where we are accountable for the delivery of product. So your payment is much safer knowing that there's a whole brand that stands behind it.
Hey, I just was curious because, I think this is such an interesting model because, and I built this, I guess, multi-sided community, and it's so community driven. But I just wanted to know about your platform, because this is a group of community managers, and kind of, if you guys built in-house, if you kind of scotch taped it together with a few platforms, what was your concept about platform? And the second part of the question is there a community manager?
So that's a very good question. Both of those are great questions. It's completely proprietary. It's all built in-house. And is there a community manager? There is like a social person who runs our social Instagram, and some of the Facebook, and then our senior copywriter runs our Twitter and our newsletters. So, and interestingly enough, we do advertise on Facebook, and we, have all these accounts. The main revenue driver is still our own newsletter, which is great, because it's free, or a sale through membership.
So kudos for a great talk. As someone that considers passion like a four-letter word,
right?
It's like the kind of story is amazing. Yeah. So I love the way the community designs fashions. I'm really interested in community and product. So I'm wondering, to what degree do you listen to the community for changing what the platform will be, or what analytics, or just different events, or that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think that we're always open to suggestions. It's very easy to contact us. I mean, obviously, someone puts a question on our platform, we've got to respond to it. And we're really quick. We have an amazing customer service team. I know that we do a tremendous amount of polling of our most active customers that are using the platform in the think tank. Usually when we have an idea that we hope is going to resonate, we will poll immediately like a subset of really active users that we think will respond, and they're always happy to engage, especially if we're going to
the company listens and responds.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
My question is, what happens to the designers after? Do some go on and start their own clothing companies, and how you capture that, success stories, but also is there anyone who ever gets really mad? Like, oh, after a year, my design's still like killing it. Do you get either of those, the success stories and I guess kind of fails? Or
Yeah, well, you know, the world is full of so many people. there's like 6 billion ways to look at this process. Many people are super excited about their product continuing, and we're really trying to get people, if they've had a successful product, to come back and have another one with us. And really most do when they're like really, really successful products, like they understand that the platform is working for them. If we're going to sell a product for more than a year, we're really hoping they're satisfied with the amount of money that they've made off of that one product. When you cut it all apart, we're not really making money on the product until it starts selling for, like, or when you cut it all apart, they've probably netted more on that product than we have, because they're getting 10% of sales, which is kind of amazing. We had a contract earlier that was based on units and the percentage depleted over time. It was really super complicated, but we're just giving them a bigger cut of the pie in the year that it's probably going to have the most number of sales. You know, of course, people will ask us, can we bend that rule a little bit? Blah, 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 and the answer is no. But, you know, people ask all the time, of course. But, you know, we just had this guy recently. He's probably going to make close to $50,000 in his first month on one dress idea. And these are designers, right? Like, he breathes and sleeps and should be thinking design ideas nonstop. And it's, you know, it's not an exceptionally complicated dress. It's a great looking dress, you know, and he deserves that success, certainly. But, like, come on, let's give us another one. You've got this incredible list of followers now, because the people who've purchased your product become your followers. So, like, let's get another one out there. Let's ride this out. Let's keep it coming.
Yeah, really inspiring to hear all of the multiple layers of community that you have engaged. And I think you talked a lot about the customers and how they are engaged. You know, the photos, the videos, the fan events, being part of the design process. So I would love to know from a community manager perspective if you have anything similar for the designers on your platform, because it sounds like, I'm not sure if you have a lot of events where they can collaborate, where they give each other feedback.
That's great. We hope that happens on the website. And when I go to different cities, there's opportunities for the designers to meet one another. And I'm really hoping that as we continue to sort of gamify the data, that becomes more engaging and interesting for them. But we're really hoping that the platform itself becomes a place where people can exchange ideas and critique one another and offer suggestions and support.
Yeah, because it seems you have that structure already there
Mm-hmm.
for the customer facing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Transfer that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I was just in consideration of all these things you've said, is there any discussion of IP or something like that analogous to, or is that just off the, you get
Speak in the microphone.
You get the value you provide, which is considerable? Or is there any concern about someone creating a blockbuster and they should have a certain percentage of it, of the royalties of it, if that's the case? Or is that not discussed?
So Betabrand owns the IP on the product if we go into production on it. That isn't to say designers could still make it on their own. Mostly they'd need to change the name of the product because we've invested ad spend into that name recognition. So Melissa Fleece has sold 5,000 units of her all-day coat. If she wants to make it herself, I know she wouldn't make it in the same fabric that we made it, because we made it in a fabric that is very sort of democratic and accessible. She would probably want to make it in real wool, which would be fine. That would differentiate it enough. But she can't call it the all-day coat because we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in ad spend identifying the all-day coat as belonging to Betabrand. So if she wants to call it the everyday coat or something else, she's welcome to. It's her design, but she needs to differentiate it on her own enough from what we've done.
Any other questions? Yes.
So I didn't know anything about Betabrand before today. And
Welcome.
And I noticed.
Welcome to our world. No kids. No kids. No kids yet. It's kids can be complicated. Kids comes with its own set of rules. It's a whole other area. So no kids yet.
Probably can't say, but desire.
When are we having kids? You know, I should say we have made disco baby pants. We have made the disco baby pants, but like in a very limited run. We've done it twice. They sell out immediately. They're very cute.
I'm saying both sides of it.
Yeah, it's, you know, right now we need to focus on growing the business as it is, sort of keep our eye on the prize. I think that we get asked about kids all the time. We get asked about lingerie all the time. We get asked about a plus size all the time. And all of those are things that, yes, we would love to get into, but when we decide to do it, we need to do it right. Because you can't just... Like, lingerie has a whole architecture around it that's complicated. Plus sizes, you just can't just make it bigger, because then you have like shoulders out to here. That doesn't make it, like, you need to have really like in-house, very specialized people in those areas to be able to do it correctly. And that's just not on the roadmap today. It could be tomorrow. I'll let you know. But you know, we are literally Betabrand. We are constantly testing things, seeing what works, evolving, responding. You know, the internet provides this incredible amount of immediacy and responsiveness, and we are the brand that works in the same way. You know, 3.5 years ago, 4% of our revenue came from women. Now 84% of our revenue came from women, and it wasn't because someone sat in an office with a closed door and said, we're going to become a women's brand. It was because dress pant yoga pants came out, people were loving them, tweeting about them, freaking out. The ads were doing a return, we're doing an ROI that we'd never seen before. And the next thing you know, we're like world dominating with dress pant yoga pants.
Well, we have time for one. Are there any questions from the live stream? Were there? No? Okay. Is there anything from the tweet stream? We have time for one more question. Judith.
Do you have competition?
No. I mean, not in the way that we work, not in the way that we're approaching. I mean, yes, is there like competition in our different categories? Yes, but not in the way that our platform operationalizes. We're really the only clothing company that's doing what we do with the ability to do it at scale.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.